Good morning, everyone. We are so glad you guys are logging in, and we've been watching your comments come through the stream this morning. My name is Christy Kate. I'm a digital innovation consultant here at Region 14, and my partner
I'm
in crime.
Hillary Miller. Welcome. Good to see y'all this morning.
We are glad you're here. We want to remind you that this is an intermediate version, and we have already on Monday gone over some actual beginning setup steps. This particular hour is a fast and furious hour. Please understand that. We know that for some of you, this will be a little overwhelming, but want to remind you that everything is being recorded straight to YouTube. The link that you see up above us in your YouTube URL area of the Omnibox will be at the same URL that will have all of the recorded session on it. Also, at the end of today, this particular presentation that we're going over will be in the description of the YouTube video so that you can click back on it. And at any given time, go back and go through the slides at your own pace, pausing, stopping, etc. We did ask all of you to put your name, your school district, what you may be teaching, your grade, etc., into the chat. Part of that is so that we can take attendance. Several have asked, will I get attendance? Yes, we go back through and see who has made comments, and that is who we give attendance to. So at least make that one comment for us. Some of you have also been commenting about the things that you know or have done or experienced using Google Meet, using grading, using the comment bank, whether or not you've used a header, and that's good to know because those are the things we're going to fly through as topics today. At any given time that you need to message one of your friends or message one of us, you are welcome to answer each other's questions if you see them before we do. We have a little bit of a delay on our side. Tag them by starting typing the @ symbol and their name. It should pop up. And then on their side only, they'll see a light go around their name. It may be a color like orange or purple or green, and they'll know that you're tagging them. For us, because we are both streaming through the Region 14 digital streaming YouTube platform, we need you to tag us as @ Region 14 and not Christy or Hillary. Anything else I can think of, go ahead and ask any questions you want in the box. If it's really specific, we'll ask you to get back with us at the end individually, and we will work on individual things with all of you. That being said, guys, let's jump in. Google Classroom Intermediate, here we go. Our agenda for today and the buttons that you will be able to click around and navigate throughout the presentation when you get to it later include the gradebook settings, how to provide feedback through looking at student work, the actual gradebook and the gradebook view that's inside of this Google Classroom platform, rubrics and how to create them, the comment bank, how to create that comment bank, Google Meet and using it through the Google Classroom platform, classroom headers, creating your own if you don't like the ones that Google has provided or everybody in your district or on your campus seems to use the same one, you can make it specific to you. And then, of course, we're always going to have the guides and resources section where there's a lot of information out there to help you. Going to jump in first with gradebook settings, how to set them up. What is the difference in total points versus weighted categories, and how do I add that to an assignment so that it gets calculated correctly? So I'm going to jump over to my classes tab. Remember, this is the cards page. And in this particular case, I've never set it up for my Google Basics class, so I'm going to go ahead and show you that when you click into a class, you will use the In Settings icon right up here in the upper right-hand corner, bringing up the class settings for just this particular class, because grading can be different in every class. You're going to scroll all the way down to the bottom where it talks about grading. The cool thing is there is a pop-out here on choosing a grading system. You can click to learn more, and it launches Google's version of a help support. In this particular case, we're going to talk about overall grade calculation. It defaults to no overall grade provided for the student, so that you don't have to take grades. That's why this particular class, it happens to be one of mine here at the Service Center. I'm not taking grades on the educators that are in this class, but for you, you'll want to think through this. What are my options? I can either do total points or weighted category. This will depend upon the grading policy that is approved for your campus, for your district. I have worked in a facility that we use total points where everything, a quiz might be worth 20 points. A test might be worth 100, but they accumulated points. We didn't put percentage grades on their individual assignments. But it might be weighted by category. Any one of the three that you decide to choose, you have the option. Do you show an overall grade to students? Well, since I'm not taking an overall grade, I can't. But I feel like the most common in Region 14, or what I've seen, and you guys can correct me if that's wrong, it's been the weighted category. So I'm going to choose weighted category. Showing overall grade to students, now I can turn that on because I want them to see what their current average is in my Google Classroom. And now I have to decide, well, if I'm using weighted by category, what are those categories that will not change for the entire class? So I'm going to add a category. And notice grade categories must add up to 100%. Most people have tests, which are generally, I'm going to go ahead and just say 50%. Notice it's telling me I have 50% of my total percentage points left. I'm going to add the category homework. Oops, let's spell it correctly. Homework may be 25%. And I'm going to add the category quizzes. I should probably capitalize. And I'm going to make that one 25% too. So that whenever I post an assignment through Google Classroom, it will automatically calculate for me the percentage in the overall grades based upon what I have put here. And maybe I should say, for clarification purposes, homework/daily. Because daily work may be a big deal as well. Maybe it's in-class work, but they get credit for it. Okay, I'm good with my percentages. I'm good to go here. I need to go ahead and save it. At that point, this class is now ready to calculate grades appropriately. So if I go to classwork and I go to create a new assignment, and I'm going to call this assignment for grading. I can type whatever I want, but you'll notice under grade category here, I have the determination to decide, is it going to be part of homework, daily grades, a quiz, or a test? How does it need to be weighted? And so I'm going to tell it that this is a quiz. My total point value can be 100. I can ungrade it, but it's going to weight whatever grade they get, the overall average, by the quiz category of 25%. And in this case, it's a 100-point quiz. So when I assign it to them, the program will do all of the calculations for me as it's being graded. Going to go back over here, present our screen again. It looks like I went out of the screen. We will load for a second. Get back to where we were. So these screenshots will then further clarify what we've just gone over, that at the bottom of those in-class settings, you'll decide, is it overall grade or not, and here are your options. And you'll want to turn on the slider so the kids can see their grades. I put a little explanation here. When people are trying to understand total points, even if you select total points, you can still give categories and some default points that you could override just for your own organizational purposes. But here's an example of how that plays out in a grade. An overall grade is calculated for you by dividing the total points a student earns by the total points possible in the class. So here's an essay that was 90 out of 100 points possible, a test that was 95 out of 100 points possible, for a total of 185 points out of 200, meaning their current average is a 92.5. If you're using weighted by category, here's another sample. This category is 50% essay, 50% test, and there's two essays here. They got a 70 out of 100 and 80 out of 100. You add those two, divide it to get an average, okay? And that average is multiplied by the 50% to get a category score of 37.5. Test category, 50% of the grade also. 90 divided by 100, 100 divided by 100, so that's what their grade was. Added together gives them an average for their tests of 95. Multiply by 50%, then you have your two category scores added together to get the student's overall average. Thankfully, Google does all this for you. I'm not really a math person, so some of you may not have time to do that for all of your kids either. That's what weighted by category is talking about. So you'll have this to reflect upon, and you want to match all of your categories and all of your percentages to your grading policy for your district, your campus, whatever is appropriate where you are. Remember that inside of the assignment itself, you want to give it a category so that it appropriately calculates. That doesn't mean on the point value that I can't decide what points I want it to be worth every single time. So now let's talk about viewing student work and giving feedback. Last session we had on Monday, we talked a little bit about the to-do tab as a teacher. Sometimes we need to Marie Kondo our to-do tabs, clean it up a little bit, mark things as review to get them out of the way. We can also verify that we have actually looked at all the assignments. One of the biggest drawbacks, I think, in online learning is that people will often think, um, there's not enough interaction between me and between the student. There's not enough engagement between the two of us. And this is a place in giving feedback and really working in each assignment for the kids that you can help them and help that grade. That online moment sometimes cuts that point off. So we're also going to talk about viewing all of the students' work in one place and giving different feedback. I'm going to start with the to-do tab. I'm going to come back over here. Remember my pancakes from the first session? Gives me a to-do tab of the things I'm teaching. And you can see I have a lot of things in my to-do tab for all of my classes. It might be easier for me to say, okay, well, what about that Google Basics we were just in? I actually have already returned this intro to Gmail, but I didn't Marie Kondo my section. I'm finished with this particular session. I'm going to click the chocolate chips, mark it as a reviewed assignment so I don't have to think about it anymore. It will go over here to reviewed, so I know, yes, I've looked at everybody's. We are finished there. There will be no grades changing, etc. That's using the to-do tab to help me to determine, do I need to grade assignments? Something's been turned into me that I need to go click on. You can get straight to those assignments through your to-do list. The next thing to look at was all of the students' work in one place. Maybe you need to look at what Johnny has. If I go to another class, let's go to this one at Hardin-Simmons, and I click on the People tab. For any one of my students, let's say Renee here, I need to look at all of her work and see how her grades are, etc. If I click on her name, it's going to bring up for me all of Renee's assignments, things that are missing, what current grades I have, what her overall average is, and I can click that and remind myself that grades were calculated by total points. This was not a weighted by category session. I can look at everything she's done, just the work that has been turned in by her that I still need to look at, returned work, and missing work. This is very helpful if you happen to need to go into conference with a parent, conference with a principal, administrator, on the phone to talk about a specific student. Once again, I can look at everything. That's how you view all of their work in one place. Now let's talk about giving feedback on the actual assignments. We can view the assignments in the actual grading tool of the platform. We can see their grade, submission history of an assignment, and switch between student assignments. So I'm going to walk you through that moment. I think I'm going to choose where we were in our Google Basics class. When I go to classwork and I see the assignments, I have to open up an assignment and view that assignment to open up the part that will let me get to the grading tool. Here's where I see student work for these particular students. What I really like is being able to open up anyone's assignment. And now I'm in a spot where I could actually grade that assignment. This tells me I'm in the Gradebook tool area. I can look at anything she has going on, and I can go between Candace. Hitting the drop-down arrow lets me click to any other student or status by missing or what had not been graded. Or I can just click to the next student's assignment, never leaving this tab to grade as many as I need to grade. I'm going to show you another class too while we're here. I'm going to go back over here. Let's go to this new class I have here. I know I have some ungraded work. I'm going to click on this assignment, view it, and I can go to Angie Thomas. Notice I have a draft grade, so I must have started grading her work. get back into it. And this one actually has a rubric attached to it that would let me grade through the rubric. And I can automatically override or update her grade if I want to. We're going to get a little more into detail in this actually in rubrics. But once again, I love the drop down option, clicking to what maybe I've already graded, be sure that I'm still consistent in how I'm grading my students, and I can arrow back and forth between the student assignments. All of that through what this is called the grading tool inside of the Classroom platform. Let's see what else we have here. Submission history of an assignment. Now, I've gotten several comments or questions over the past fall and spring about a kid said he turned it in. I thought I returned it to him. How am I going to see all of that, etc.? So I'm going to X out of these two. And I know that back in that class that was Hardin Simmons, because we had a lot of work there, I can go to one of the assignments. We'll just go to the last one I did with them. And I can look at all of the assignments here, depending on how many students you have. I can click this drop down to what's been assigned, what's been graded, but I can look at Miss Perry. Let's look at Miss Perry's assignment information. Here's just her work on the student work page, and you see right here in gray, see the history of what's been graded. A lot of people miss this particular moment. Click see the history. Now, it doesn't show at the bottom where I actually made the assignment, but it shows me from the first time she interacted. She turned it in at 11:14. I assigned it to her again at 11:25, which means that she must have not been finished. I sent it back to her, tells me that I did that. She turned it in again at 1:26, then I graded it and returned it to her. You'll notice on Miss Mary here, if I look at her history and grading, she turned it in to me at 9:26. The next day, I reassigned it to her at 8:55. I probably gave her some feedback down here. She turned it in again at 2:03. I graded it and I returned it. Well, guess what? She turned it back into me. She thought she deserved more points. And guess what? I returned it with the same grade. So all of that is time stamped for you as to the history of what happened with that assignment as soon as they turn it in the first time. And I want you to be aware of that and trying to track down what's happening with the student work when you're grading it. All right, let's talk about adding feedback, adding comments to an assignment, the comment bank, and private comments. Remember that interaction is so important. I think that because I know this person won't mind if I leave her a comment right in the middle of the day today, I'm going to go back to my basics class. I'm going to go to this keep document, view the assignment again. You're watching me do this over and over and over, and I'm going to start with Candace's assignment here. It's already been assigned and turned in, but see if I can. Nope, she hasn't done Google Drive yet. Sorry. I'm here. Let me go back. She has already done her keep one. I can turn that one. That will be better. View this assignment. Yeah. All right. So she's turned this one into me. I'm opening it up in the grading tool. And the first thing I want to do is leave her a comment about something specific inside what she's turned into me. So as the teacher, it's here in my view. I'm going to highlight what I want to leave a comment for. And when I highlight it, you should notice over here a plus mark that appears. And I'm going to add a comment for her. And I'm going to say, in this case, I am testing comments with teachers. So she doesn't think, what in the world? And when I make the comment, she'll get an alert about it. Now, what's good for me, too, is that I mouse over it and you see I have the 3 chocolate chips. In this case, I've made a comment about this particular moment that's highlighted. When she clicks on the comment, she'll know exactly what I'm referring to. I have the chocolate chips where I can add this comment to my comment bank. Maybe it's something I'm going to use over and over and over again. When I click here, add multiple comments but starting a new line or just this one comment, I'm just going to say add this one comment so that I'll have it for later. I'm going to scroll down here and let's say I want to click on this picture and leave her a comment. Now I'd like to leave it from this button right here is my comments bank. I can click here and see everything in my comments bank. And just so you know, this comment bank that I'm creating is going to be available to me in every single assignment across every single class I do. Something you might use a lot. I can add comments here to the comment bank straight inside the comment bank. Notice the chocolate chips. I can copy it to the clipboard to paste somewhere, edit it, or delete it from my comments. But in this case, in the middle of grading, I'm going to put my cursor here in the comment box, and I'm going to use the hashtag symbol. And as soon as I do, they start popping up for me to select. So I'm going to say, great job, and add that comment. Hillary's going to show these slides in just a few minutes, but I wanted you to see that that is another way to leave comments. I'm going to click back into my grading area of this particular assignment, and you'll notice I have left private comments to Candace throughout this assignment. At the bottom, you can add any private comment you want. This is only between you and the student. And maybe I put something here that applies to the entire assignment and not just a particular thing I've selected. I'm going to post that comment. What's really nice too is that when I go back to the assignment section here and I click on Candace's name, those private comments are left in this section for that assignment. Okay. Going to go back. Let's see what else we've got going for you here. Here is an overview page of the to-do tab. Once again, mark anything you want as reviewed to help Marie Kondo your moment and clean it up. All of your students' work can be seen from the People tab by clicking on that student and deciding, do you want to see all of their work, what's been turned in, returned, or missing, be in a list. To view things in the grading tool, number one, you click on student work from the assignment. You will see all or assigned, graded, turned in, whatever you want to do here. From there, you can also click on the kid's name at the side and view their grading history. See their history here to know what's been turned into you. And you can click on the names inside the grading tool and go navigate between each other student assignments or decide by status what you'd like to be grading or looking at. When it comes to adding comments, anything you highlight that you want to comment, you'll see this button appear at the side. Leave your comment for the student and post it here. Private comments are added inside the grading tool at the bottom, or when you click on their name, you can add private comments down here as well from the Student Work tab in an assignment. A lot of stuff here. I realize that. We're going to keep moving. Let's talk about grading and viewing the gradebook. Grading with a rubric. Once the rubric's already built, we're going to get to building it, but first we're going to start with one that's already built from the grading tool. You can grade or from student work. Now, we already looked at Angie's a second ago. I'm going to go back in. I believe Angie's assignment was here. View the assignment. I was going to click on Angie. And using the grading tool, you can see that I'm on the grading tool. My rubric, because it's attached to the assignment, is already listed here for me. I can do the drop-down box to say, okay, based upon this criterion, where does Angie fall in this? You know what? I kind of think she needs to work on this some. It looks pretty blank to me. It's like she just turned it in for me to use to show you guys today. So I'm going to say almost all is incomplete. I can pop that back up. Notice it tells me that that's what I marked. She got 1 out of 4 points. Drop the creativity part down. I'm going to look here and say, okay, maybe she gave me a little bit. Roll that up out of my way. Come down to the third section. This was grammar and spelling. Well, I guess that she didn't write anything. The grammar's really good, right? And it's going to calculate for me. That's her overall grade at this point. And I can go ahead and return it to her, or I can save it as a draft grade and go to the next student. Maybe I need to go to Sean's to grade. My goodness. Sean is just about as good as Angie. I wonder if they cheated. I'm not really sure. So you can grade by just clicking if you remember what the category moments are, or you could do the drop down again to see. At any given time, you could override that grade because maybe I need to say, you know, Sean did a bonus activity I asked him to do, so I'm going to go ahead and give him 40 points and say, thanks for doing the bonus activity. Post that to him. And I'll go ahead and return his to him. He's going to be notified. Excellent. I'm great with that. Okay, so that's seeing a rubric while you're grading, selecting a rating, and notice I could manually change the total grade. Let's talk about viewing or updating our overall grade book that's being populated for us. In this case, I think I will probably go back to my Hardin-Simmons class, which had a lot of grades in it for you. And I'll show you this too. From the cards, you may remember this from Monday. We talked about this little symbol here means open my grade book. Go straight to my grade book as a teacher. For the student, it says open their work. So I'm going to open the grade book for Hardin-Simmons. And you'll notice that this looks the same as the grades tab when you're already inside the class. I see several things here. I can actually drill into an assignment by clicking on anything for a student, and I can override the grade. I could say, you know what, Emily did turn that in. That is going to be late though, so it's a 70. I can actually view the submission of Emily while I'm here because I forgot it's the end of 6 weeks. I'm turning in grades and now I know where I need to go to see what's missing in an overall glance. I can return the work straight here. And you will notice that the overall grade for these students appear for me here, my overall class average, as well as across the board for that particular assignment. I can drill into the assignment. I can edit that assignment, delete it. I can return everybody's at the same time. Don't be afraid to click. I think that's the number one people say, I don't know what to do. If your mouse highlights something, click and see what happens. In this case, it means I can fill in a grade. It means that I can return or view submissions. Clicking on the student will take me straight to their own work page. Okay, I can go straight to Mary's page and I see that's what her overall grade was. We saw this just a second ago. So don't be afraid to open their grade book, view their submissions there, enter the grades, return the work, view the overall grades. Now this one's interesting. I've had people ask me multiple times, can I download a copy of my grade book? The operative word is copy. It's going to be a snapshot of what your grade book looks like at the moment you download it. And to do that, it's odd, but you have to open any assignment. View the details of an assignment from anywhere that you can find the assignment to get to this particular page. Student work's there, instructions are there. Here's the page. You're going to click the gear in the upper right-hand corner of any assignment, and you have the option to copy all the grades to the Google Sheets, download all grades, or just this particular assignment's grades. These are both CSVs. Most of us use Sheets. So I'm just going to copy all the grades to Google Sheet. This is for the entire class at this very moment that I press the button. No sooner, no later. Any grades that come up afterwards will not automatically populate here. I'd have to download them again. But as of 6/17/2020, here is what the spreadsheet looks like. It will give me the class average, the students' names, their email addresses, and then by assignment. Okay, so that's what that feature does for you. Just a quick glance back at what we've just gone over. Grade with a rubric from inside the assignment. You can manually change the grade here. When you're on that student or that overview page of the assignment, for each student, you can actually see what you gave them. If you needed to change it, you could. Opening your grade book from the cards or from the grades tab. And feel free to utilize what you see here. Now, notice I didn't talk about this a second ago, but you'll see color coding. I don't know how well you can see it through the YouTube screen, but red means something's missing. Green means it's turned in or you've given them a draft grade. Black means you've returned it and you're finished with it as the educator. Okay, enter grades, return work, same spot, using those little chocolate chips. View overall grades inside the grade book or from the People tab. When you click a student, once again, that's where you see the big grade by their name, and that's where you show them how to find their average. Downloading a copy of the gradebook has to be inside of an assignment using that gear, but please remind yourself it is just a copy of that moment in time, and it puts a sample sheet in your drive. Now let's get to the nitty-gritty of rubrics. You have to have a little bit of academic knowledge of the definitions of criterion and the level of the rubric. I think all of you are probably aware of what a rubric looks like and how to utilize it, but in the creation, reusing it and sharing it, it's going to be important that you know what all your parts and pieces are. So let's just do that. I'm going to go into my new class here that I made just the other day. I'm going to make an assignment. And I'm just going to call this new. And once I type something in the title and click out of that, the rubric button becomes available for me. I'm going to choose my category because we talked about that today, so why not? This is going to be a project. And I'm going to add a rubric. When I click here, I have the option first to create, and that's what we're going to do. When I create, I'm going to use scoring. It starts it sorting it by descending. Now, I like to make mine ascending, meaning the highest grade possible down, but you can do it either way you want. The criterion, in this case, sometimes we use originality. I'm making something up. You can explain to them. Here's my explanation. They're going to love this one. The explanation for originality is that. In other words, can I obviously tell you spent time and effort working on creating something. And since I wanted this one to be ascending, I'm going to make this worth 4 points. And that means it's excellent. That's my title here. You could give a description meaning that everything was original. Everything was original. Now, a 3 would be considered good. Some original, some not. Some so-so. I'm adding a plus to add a new level every time. I have a 2. This is fair. And maybe you only had one thing that was original. And here is a 1. It was poor. And nothing is original. Okay? So this would be my first criterion. You've got to decide what are the criterions you need. Now, I can always add a new and do the exact same thing. You'll notice chocolate chips appear here, which tells me I can delete this level if I want to. I can move it around. 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember how it readjusted mine? I can also do this, and I love doing this. Duplicate this criterion, please. And instead of originality, this is called spelling. And the explanation for spelling is this. And perhaps poor is that no spell check was used. And fair is that, okay, most misspelled words. But obviously not everything was misspelled. Good is going to be, I don't know, 2 misspelled. And everything was correct. It's a lot easier for me to then duplicate this again, and you can move them around and shuffle them till you build, maybe it's your 4x4 matrix, at which point I'm going to say save. Now, before I do say save, I want to show you the chocolate chips here as well. Notice it titled this by the title of my assignment in this case. I can delete it here, okay, if I don't want it at all. I'm just going to say save. And now I have a rubric attached to this assignment. At any time I want to look at this assignment again or edit this rubric, I can open it up, click on it. I see what it is. I have the chocolate chips to edit it, delete it altogether. Or this one's interesting. I'm going to go ahead and mention it. Export it to Sheets. Google Classroom has the design behind, if you create a rubric here inside of your Google Classroom, you can export it and import it into another person's class. You can import a creation inside of Classroom. This is how you would share your rubrics with the teacher down the hall. Now, you cannot take something that's in a Google Sheet already and just import it. They have to be created in Google Classroom, exported in Google Classroom, imported in Google Classroom. So keep that in mind, but I can always see that rubric. So that's how we create one. If I wanted to reuse one, I'm going to delete that rubric. If I wanted to reuse one that has already been used somewhere else, I click reuse. You have rubrics from whatever classes you teach. And let's say I want to use the rubric from this particular class. Select it. It's going to bring it in. And I have the ability then to go in. I can edit it. I can do whatever I need to it. If I don't make any changes to it, it's good to go. I can use the one I already have. We're good to go. And then the last thing is just what I mentioned is I could import a rubric that someone has given to me from Sheets. And it's going to then go into my spreadsheet area where it saved it in my classroom, and I could import, here's a rubric here that I could import from Sheets. And now it's going to let me access it and do whatever I need to do with it. Discard that. So that is, really quickly, a rubric overview. Here's a screenshot showing you all the parts that you saw me fill out. Number 1 tells you that's the criterion title, and they give you a sample. Number 2, here's the description, and they give you a sample so that you can look at this and really work on this as you start to design your own rubrics. Here on creating it, I show you that you're in an assignment. You create it here, you add a level. You can either add a criterion at the bottom, or you can go up and duplicate a criterion that you've already created. To reuse a rubric, you simply select it from a class where you've already made one. To share one, you can import it from Sheets, or you can export yours and share it to someone else. And now I'm going to turn over to Hillary, and I'm going to look at the questions. Hillary, you have any questions you want to give to us?
Okay, so we have one from Melissa. Can you discuss what does returned work mean?
Yes, it means I am finished with it, I've graded it, and I hit the return button, letting the student know, here's your grade, your teacher has completed it. It's just like you were standing at the front of the classroom and passing it back to your students, a paper copy. That's a great question. What else do we have? I know, Donna, information overload, girl. We would love to do a 3 to 6 hours, but none of us could sit here that long. So that's why we are getting this recorded, and we ask you to play back, stop, pause, look at, and contact us and say, Christy, help me, Hillary, help me. What else do we have?
Can students see private comments even though the assignment has not been graded returned?
Yes, ma'am. They sure can. Good question. You type in that private comment, they should get it even if they have not turned it into you yet. What else do we have?
And can you combine Google Classroom with Skyward Gradebook?
Good question. Okay. The whole download of grades and upload can be tweaked for almost every grading system. There are big name gradebook companies that have an import tool. At this time, Skyward may be on the list of possibilities. They are not the ones that I know of that currently have it, like PowerShell. We don't have in our Region 14 area. Google Classroom is this is way too much technology language for you, but it's open API, which means that programmers of any programming software or any gradebook software are allowed to make them talk to each other. That's just whether or not they want to. I can help you a little bit. I don't have any expertise with Skyward, but I can help you get the gradebook sheet that's downloaded, adjusted, and tweaked to upload, and so can Hillary. What else do we have?
And I cannot find it now, but somebody has said that they only have the join class option. So if you don't have the create class option, just you need to contact your Google admin people at your district, and they can set you up in the teacher group so that you can be able to create a class. And then last one before we move on real quick, Donna asked, can the slides be printed? We'll get you the link at the end of this presentation, and you'll have all those that you can look back at later.
I see one that just popped in here from Stacy. When you edit the reused rubric and save it, will it change the original rubric? No. Okay, you've reused it, it's putting it in your new assignment, and it will not change that original rubric. So that's a good question too. If it does, we have an issue and we need to look at it. Anything else? Okay, Hillary, it's all yours.
Okay. So Christy did a great job at going over the comments and showing all that. I just kind of want to go over the screenshots for that moment. Oops. So you have the ability to add to the comments bank. And once you do that and have a bunch of those,
there you go.
once you have the you add to the comments bank. And if you get too many of those, remember you can use that hashtag and you can start typing even a keyword. So like if you want to do great job, if you start typing hashtag great, it will bring up all the comments that have great in it. And so that'll help you sort through a long line. And then you have the ability to edit and get rid of and delete ones that you might need. So we're going to move on to Google Meet. And Google Meet is inside Classroom now. It was a great addition recently during the whole COVID-19 mess. And if you're not seeing the ability to set up a Google Meet inside of Classroom, it has to be turned on in Google Admin Panel for teachers. So just let your admin know and they can help out with that. So in the class settings, we'll go over how to copy the meeting link, how to reset it, and whether or not you should make it visible to students. When to make it visible and when not to, just kind of some of those security and privacy settings. And then where it's located in the stream, how to find it in the classwork tab, and managing those participants, being able to mute them, remove them, making sure you're the last one to leave that meet. And then the best practices that we have, and then we have a lot of resources on this. So I'm going to jump over into my Google Classroom. And to get to the Google Meet settings, remember this is your in-class settings. I'm going to go down to the General section, and I see the Meet icon. So if you have never touched the Google Meet, then right here, instead of seeing this Meet link, yours might say Generate Meeting Link. And when you click on it, then it will generate your link for you. Once you generate that link, you have the ability to drop down and say Copy or Reset. Okay, so that's going to be helpful in a minute. I'll show you about that and making it visible to students. Now, best practice, we like to leave ours off until we're going to use it with the students. And we can turn it on when we need it. And we always got to make sure we save when we make the change. So it will not be visible to students until you toggle that button on. And once I do that, we can locate our new meeting link in the stream. It's found in the header. And so here's my Meet link that I created. I have icons right here with a camera. That means it is visible to the students right now. There would be an I with the slash if it were not visible to the students. And then on the student side, when they're a student in the class and it's not visible, they won't even see this link right here at all. It won't even be there. But on the teacher side, you'll see the I with the slash through it. And then in the classwork tab, the Meet icon is up next to the Google Calendar and the Class Drive folder. So I want to go ahead and start a Meet, but I'm going to go back into my class settings and I want to do something real quick. I've already turned it on to visible to students, but I just want you to know that if it's off and you have this Meet link created, a best practice might be to go to Copy. Okay, I'm going to copy that link. I'm going to open up a new tab and I'm going to paste it because I want to make sure that I'm the very first one into this Google Meet. So this is what your screen will look like when you are ready to start your Meet. And notice it says no one else is here. I want to make sure and go ahead and click the Join Now. Okay, so now I've joined my Meet. I can see that only one person is in this Meet. On the Google Classroom side, that would be once I've joined in, that's when I might go turn it on and make it visible to students and save. It does nothing to that link up here. It's fine. I'm in it and making sure that I am the only one. So I want Christy she's a student in my class and she's going to join me in my Meet. So we're going to see Christy pop in a second. Our camera's starting. Here she is. And now she's in. So up here at the top in our meeting, I can click on the people. That's going to show everyone and give me a list on the side of all the participants that are in my meeting. And notice that she's muted over here. You can see that. Underneath the people, I have the option on Christy. If I mouse over her, I have an arrow that's going to drop down and I can pin her. So if she's presenting to the class through the Meet and sharing some information, I might want to pin her for a second so it stays on her while she's talking. Or I can mute her. Okay, so I can mute. And then I can remove her from the call, but I don't want to do that right now. Over here on the side, I have the option for chatting. So I can type good morning, and this is really good for if you're in a call and somebody's having difficulties with hearing or need a little assistance, they can use the chat and they can get it figured out. Okay, so down at the bottom, I have my, let's see, I'm gonna close that for a second. Down at the bottom, I have my options. This is the meeting nickname that was generated. And maybe you might need to copy this information for a guest speaker, and you can add them over here in the people. So you could click right here and add their email. The presenter controls at the bottom, I have the ability to turn my microphone off, mute myself. This is leaving the call, and then you can turn the camera off. And if you turn the camera off, you will still have your audio available. I also have the option for turning on closed captioning. So when I do that, and Christy and I'm speaking, this is a really good feature for some of our students that might need it. So it'll capture that in the Meet. And it'll come up in a second. It didn't catch it. Oh, she's muted still. So I can turn. So there you go. And I can turn those closed captionings off. And I also over here have the ability to present my screen. So if I present, I have options to either present my entire screen, a window, or I can do a Chrome tab. I prefer doing a Chrome tab so they don't see everything. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to present this. So this is a header that I've made, and then I've got the blue stop sharing. And then I'm going to go back to my Google Meet. So that's how you can share your screen with your kids. Then under the chocolate chips, I have the options for recording a meeting. So the recording meeting feature is under the enterprise version, and that is a paid version. That this is a feature that they rolled out during COVID-19 that allowed you the option to record your meeting. That feature, when you go back in August, will more than likely not be there, or will be phasing out soon. You have the option to change your layout. So you have auto, you can do the sidebars when there's, of course, you can't see that now because there's only Christy in here, but the more participants you can have it sidebar, spotlight, or tiled. And then I can go full screen. I can also turn the closed captions off here. These settings are for your audio and your video. So this is where you can test your microphone and you can test your speakers. So you can see the bars bouncing up and down. I know my microphone's good. And if I want to test speakers, I can click here and it's going to play a sound for me. On the video options, you can, if you have a picture here, you know that your video camera is working. And then you can use the phone for audio. And then here's all the places you can either report problems, report abuse, or this very nice, lovely help feature where you can submit feature requests. Now, good news, there's some cool features that are coming soon, and we'll get to that in a second. Okay, Christy, I'm going to have you jump out because I want to be, as the teacher, the last one to leave. So if you will exit, bye. Good to see you. Okay, so I can see Christy has left the meeting. I can look at my people. I'm the only one in. And then I can leave my meeting. Once I leave, I can say return to home screen. And that's just going to go to the Meet site. Once I jump back into my classroom, now my meeting is over with my students. I've done whatever I'm going to do. Best practice is to go back into these settings and I can reset the code. That way the students can't copy it and can't rejoin, but I also want to go ahead and turn it off and make sure I save. That way they're not jumping in like some of the issues that you've noticed over this whole remote learning experience. So that is Google Meet. I'm going to go back over to, just remember on the stream, those not visible, visible settings. These are the icons that you'll see, whether it's visible or not to students. The classwork, if it's not visible to students, there will not be the icon next to the Google Calendar and Drive. And if it is visible, then they will see it. Making sure that you're the first one to join. No one else is here. Join now. That's the start screen that they will see. Then they click join, then they're live. Then you have over here, if you click the people, you will see all your participants. Using that drop down, you can pin, mute, and remove. I also, on the tiles, when I mouse over one of the participants, those options for the participants show up again. So I can pin, I can mute, and I can remove. Then that's what the closed captioning looks like when you turn it on. And then from the participant view, so Christy was in the class and she tried to mute Kim and she tried to remove Kim and she was not able to. So participants in there cannot unmute or remove others. And then I showed where you copied to the class, the meeting link. So a student might try to copy the code and share it with others. This is what you get as the teacher when they try to do that. You can deny entry or you can admit. And then after I reset the code, Christy tried to rejoin the meeting, and this is the screen that she got. So best practices again, first one, you want to make sure that you keep this off for students. You want to make sure you're the first to join. You want to make sure you're the last one out. And then you're going to reset that code or that link and toggle it back to off and save. So the great news is the new features, because of everyone during the remote learning requesting those features through the Google Classroom question mark symbol, then we are having some features that are coming that look a lot like Zoom. So you can replace your background, you can add the breakout rooms, the digital whiteboard, the ability to raise the hand and ask questions, and the ability to have some polling. So those will be rolling out in the near future. So jumping into the classroom headers, we're going to look at selecting a theme and the ones that Google offers you, how to upload a photo, and how to design your own, and some resources. So we're running out of time. I've got videos of the resources of exactly how to do it, and I'm going to do as much as I can. So looking at that, we're going to go into the playground to my Google Classroom, and over here in the header, I select theme. These are the ones, the options that Google has for you. They're kind of boring. You've got English, history, math, science. The problem is if you're an art teacher and you have multiple sections of art, then there's not the ability to change the colors, to have the same background, but just change the color. So it'd be great to create your own, but you can use those no problem. So I click one of those and it lets me use it. So here is mine that's Google provided, or I can click upload photo and I can select one from my computer. So how would I upload one or make one? My recommendation is through Google Drawings. Okay, so you could do Google Drawings or Google Slides. And now I know there's this big whole Bitmoji educator craze going on right now. So you don't have to use Bitmojis. All I did on this, it's very important when starting out, you want to make it the size of the header. So to do that, you're going to go File, Page Setup. And then I want to choose Custom, change it to pixels, and I want to make it 800 by 200. Now, some have said 1600 by 400, and that just gives you the ability to crop and make it a little bit, you know, customized more. But the 800 by 200 is the perfect size. And so once I do that, I'm going to click Apply, and it's going to make my Google drawing that size. And then I went in here. This is just insert word art. And I typed my deal, and then I used my Bitmoji and looked up different things. The reason I have this here is I noticed this was a tip that I saw through some of my social media, and that if you say find assignments here, this actually points right to that classwork tab. And so that helps direct those students right to the spot that they need to get to for their assignments. Once I have it created, I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to go Download as a PNG. Then I'm going to go back to my Google Classroom. I'm going to say Upload Photo, and then I can drag that in there and upload. And there is my custom header. And so you can make these with first period, second period in this. Notice it is kind of dark because it's for the readability and to be able to see, these instructions and the class code and the meet link and things. So you cannot change that. So you want to make sure when you're designing it that you're designing it with really bright colors so that when that darkness goes over it, it's not super, super dark and won't show up. So that's with selecting theme. That was uploading the photo after I made it. Remember, you can do Google Drawings or Google Slides to customize. Your page setup, this one, I've got 1600 by 400 here, just for the ability to crop it and to adjust it to hit right where I need. So the other thing that I wanted to show you is about doing Google Slides. So with making a header through Google Slides, the reason you might use it is if you want to add animation. So I'm going to show you this one real quick. So I used Google Slides with Tall Tweets, and there's a lot of different sites out there that you can use to make GIFs, and that's just the one that I used and saw in a video. So looking at my Google Slides, I did the same thing. I went File, Page Setup. I'm going to go Pixels, 800 by 200, Apply, and that gets my size the way I needed it. So I started out first just designing the background, changing the color, going into Insert Image, searching the web, and looking for a whiteboard. But I want it to be transparent, so that's one thing you need to remember on that. And then I just chose one. And that's how I got the board. I did the same thing for the desk and all these little features. I built my background of the way I wanted my classroom to look, and I added my Bitmoji. Before I added the Bitmoji and had the background exactly the way I wanted, I just duplicated the slide multiple times. So then when I went to the next one, notice I inserted a new Bitmoji over a little bit. Then the next one, I have her in the middle waving. Then the next slide, I have her walking away, and then finally, she's sitting in the chair. So once you have those slides made of exactly what you want, then I come over to Tall Tweets, and the first thing it did using the Classic is it asked me to choose my presentation. So I went into the presentation, I located it, and the reason I'm not showing it is it lagged a little bit and takes a little bit of time pulling it up. So all I did is I just found the presentation. It pulls this screen up and it's asking for my width that I want the GIF in pixels. So remember, I had it 800 by 200. So my width is 800. My slide duration in seconds, I may want it to be 1 second. You can make it a half a second, depending on how fast you want your person to move. And then the sequence of slides, I had 5 slides. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I'm going to click Create GIF. You cannot go 1-5 or it's going to skip slide 2, 3, and 4. So you've got to separate them all out with commas, every number. And then when I click Create GIF, like I said, it's pulling all those slides in and making its animation. Okay. I really wanted it to show this. Okay, so it's going to spin for a second, but I have it already. Let's go to upload. Oh, it's not there. Let's see. Nope, not yet. Okay, so it does work, and there is a video on the right here, how to make a GIF. This is the one I followed. And right here on this slide, you can see this is what it looks like. And it's the same thing. I'm just going to go to the Classroom and hit upload photo and find that GIF and insert it. And so this is what it would look like. And there's my header at the bottom. So moving on, the guides and resources. We have ones for student, rubrics and meet, best practices for meet, and then again, videos on Bitmoji and headers. And if you have any question on those, I'd love to help you out. So for the teacher, how to use the grading tool in Classroom, there's a link there. Adding rubrics to Google Classroom, using Google Meet, video series from Eric Kurtz again with all the different parts of Meet broken down, Google Meet integration in Google Classroom, those best practices on starting it, making sure you reset the code, and turning it on and off for students, making it visible. And then this Bitmoji virtual classroom scene tutorial is where there's multiple videos on using different things besides just the tall tweets that you can jump into. Then on the student side, we have student tips for successful video calls. This infographic from Matt Miller is also available in Spanish, French, and Japanese by clicking this link and going to a site. And then guides for students on checking your work with rubrics and seeing your overall grade for a class. And then last, we included the same link, some of the same links from the first one, from the beginner class, the ultimate guide to Google Classroom, parent's guide to guardian email summaries, and the parent and student guide to using Google Meet. And then once again, if there is anything we can do for you, please let us know. Reach out if there's any questions that didn't get answered today that we can help you with. We'd love to help.
Before we sign off, everybody that needs to leave, please leave. We are okay with that. We know we are 3 minutes over. If you did not sign in, be sure you sign in because that is how we take attendance. But I am going to pop up some of these questions. We'll stay on a few minutes and answer these before we cut the broadcast. If you need to leave, please leave. Misty asked, can we record a Google Meet yet? And Hillary, I think, went over that yes, you can currently record a Google Meet, but by September 30th, we are told that that feature that rolled out for the pandemic would be a paid feature. And as far as I know, none of our 42 school districts pay for anything with Google. That's been the beauty of it. However, we continuously want to bug Google about that, and that should be a regular feature for all of us.
But Christy, the recording button, that has to be set up in the Google admin before.
That's true. If currently right now you don't see it, Your
If
admin has to turn it on for you, but those of us who currently have it, that's correct, will not have it after they decide to pull it from the free version. I saw this question. Hillary, I'll let you answer her here.
yes, a student can share their screen with you. Um, and that's what I said. Once they share the screen with you, you can pin them until they're through talking, because sometimes on the Meet, it'll bounce back and forth between whoever's talking. So if the teacher says something and the student's presenting, it's going to go back and forth. If you pin them, their face will stay there until they're finished um, doing what they're or speaking and presenting.
Is there any way to remove an individual student from chat only? At this point, no. The only option they have is that you can live stream your Meet where no student actually joins it, and then they cannot chat, but they would be able to see. That is not necessarily a recommended practice inside the classroom, but that's something you can ask for as a feature. So Hillary, I'll let you answer this about multiple panels.
Yes, you can set it up. There's several little extensions that you can. There's like a grid meet that you can install that can help with the tile. It'll make it look like Zoom. They've recently added the grid view into the meets, but it's down at the bottom, and we couldn't show that because I only had Christy in there today. So once you have the participants, that same place where you hit those chocolate chips on the side down there on the presenter controls, and you're looking at your view of your screen, just choose one of those, like the tiled one, and they'll line up underneath you at the bottom.
And I believe currently they can have up to 16, and they may increase that number. Tina wants to know, is layout only for the presenter, or does the presenter set it for all? This is only for the presenter. You're setting it on your side. They set it on their side, how their view is, and they can pin somebody in a spot just like you can. They just cannot mute or remove people. But as far as their view, it's going to be up to them. And that's another best practice. You guys might want to practice with your students at school before they start doing this at home again in the fall. Donna wants to know, why again do you reset the code?
Okay, so on resetting the code, it's just to allow them not to, if they have that link, because it's up there in that header, if you don't turn it off, the students can enter that meeting link. And if you reset the code, then they're not able to get in there without you. So that's just goes back to the best practices of making sure that it's monitored at all times and the students aren't getting into their own chat sessions.
Okay, Melissa wants to know, is it a best practice to make it visible, not make it visible to students until right before the meet? So she was a Zoom user.
Yes, I would definitely not make it visible to students until right before. And so that's why you have that option to copy that meeting link, and remember, paste it into a new tab so that you can go ahead and join right away, and then go back and make it visible to students, and you can let them know. And if you schedule that in your Google Classroom, say tomorrow at 9 o'clock in the morning, we're going to get on, then obviously you might want to go and jump in, and get in there earlier and make it visible after you're for sure in by yourself.
Shayla wants to know, are the dimensions for a header the same as in Google Sites?
Do not believe so.
No, I think it's because in Google Sites you can have the wide header, the small header, you can change the size of the header in Sites, so you'll need to check the dimensions for which ones you want. And you can Google that. You can say large banner dimensions, new Google Sites. Let's see if we have anything else. Donna says, is Meet like Zoom? Yes. It's the same type thing. It's just built inside of your Google Classroom. It's a Google product. Mike wants to know, can you import assignments documents from your Google Drive? When you create an assignment for students in Classroom, absolutely. You will have the ability to attach from your Drive anything that you have. And I saw a question way up at the top when somebody asked about having the kids attach work to turn in back to you. When you create an assignment And I'll try to share my screen really quickly again for those of you who are still on here and want to see that moment. Right here, let me add this back up. If I am inside my class and I go to classwork and I want to create an assignment, and I start typing a title of my assignment, I can add from Google Drive, this is what Mike's talking about, anything I need. And if I just click something random in my drive, let's pretend I want to add this particular presentation. It should show up as a recent. Let's see. Here's this presentation. When I add it, I get the ability to let the students just look at it, let them actually edit this one file, or I have the make a copy for each student moment. Now, this is my favorite moment. It's like being at the copy machine. It also puts their name on it. So back to the question that was up way at the top about my students turning something into me. If you make them a blank template, just like I did with that Instagram one you saw earlier that I was grading, I had the template there, but nothing was on it. They had to fill it in. Then it's easier for them inside that assignment to turn it in without trying to navigate to what to turn in, because the assignment knows which item inside their drive should go with this particular title. So that might be helpful to you, for you guys to know. Do we have anything else? Opal says, digital streaming, can we access the beginner video? So after all 3 of these sessions are over, we hope to be able, we have to get approval above us to make them public at that point and in a little playlist so that you have all 3 hours that you can share with anybody, because no longer does anyone have to have credit for it at that point. That would be completely up to a district that wanted to use those videos with their teachers. You're welcome to watch yours as many times as you want. Once again, straight above that URL that you see right up at the top, get you back here. And at the end of today, we will go in and put the link to the presentation. Be sure you have signed in, and I think we may have answered our questions. Can a standardized Google Meet screen background be made for the course? I think Hillary talked about what's coming new. If you're talking about a background, I'm not sure.
There's several workarounds right now for trying to add backgrounds into Meet, but we have not. When the ones we have played with, we weren't very thrilled with them. They kind of were clunky. So I would wait for that new feature to come out.
Donna says, how do you reset? I think she's talking about the code. And since my classroom is right, yeah, I'll go ahead and show it if you want me to, since I'm up here.
Okay, that's great.
Inside of a class, you'll go to your settings, and you'll go right down here where I haven't even generated a link yet, but I'm going to generate one. And to reset, you're just going to click on it and say reset. You'll notice right now, you can barely see that, but it's GJEK is how it starts right here in this section. If I reset it, it turns it to BVHV. It starts changing it, and then I would turn it off as my best practice. Let's see. We already talked about this one.
Let me, Christy, let me show real quick, because that was one of them. Remember, somebody had mentioned or asked about, oh, here it is. Great job. Perfect timing. Do you receive the notification? So this was somebody trying to join in. So this screenshot, this was Christy's personal account, and she got the link and tried to join into the meeting, and I got immediately notified that I could either deny the entry or let her in. And then somebody asked about after the, what did it mean about the resetting the code? This screenshot again was somebody trying to rejoin after the teacher had reset the code, and that's the error message they got. It will not let them in. So.
Can you stop an assignment from accepting student work? No, if they want to attach something and turn it in, they can turn that in, Tila. Stephanie says that kids are so smart and learn fast because students will attempt to distract other students during the live stream. You know, that's even happened on the stream we've had today. Somebody asked if it is distracting to see that interaction. To me, that's a reality in the classroom. People talk to each other. That doesn't bother me. That becomes probably just more of a discipline thing than anything else, Stephanie. You're right. Kids figure all this out way before we do. Here's another question. I can't go back in after you've logged off.
Yeah, if you turn it off for visible to the students, it will no longer be showing on that Google Classroom header. Now, that doesn't mean they can't have copied to that link. So that's why if you reset it, and once you reset that link, then it's going to no longer work.
And that's what she was just showing you, Melissa. Good reference there. Let's see if there's anything else. Okay, I think that might be everything. If we missed a question, please email us. We're sorry we ran over, but we did want to answer all of your questions. Don't forget to register sometime before 10 o'clock tomorrow if you want to see Fridays. Fridays, we are talking about extensions and third-party applications that you can use to enhance your learning moments. And if you can think of anything else you need from us, let us know. We're going to end all of this. Y'all have a great day.